Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dream Oracle for You. I am your host, and as always, I have my lovely co host Biljana on the call. We are so excited for today's episode. We have another wonderful guest to bring to you to talk all things dreams, and that is none other than my dear friend, Jo-Anne Desgrosseiliers. I think I pronounced that wrong, but I'm sorry.
You did well. You did
Okay,
very
good.
well.
And it's very interesting. The idea for today's episode is going to focus generally around visitation dreams and, of course, all things dreams in general. And I will pass the torch to Biljana, as always, to just welcome us to the episode. Biljana.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. I didn't know much about what this is going to be about, so I know a little bit now. So I'm excited because that's kind of where the theme of my life at the moment, and like the dreams and a book that I'm reading at the moment. So it'd be interesting to hear your experiences and what you have to share. So yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll just let the conversation flow. And like you said before, you got questions for us. So yeah, please do ask away.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm welcome and thank you for having me. This is my first podcast. So there we go. Just something new in 2026. Exciting. So my name is Jo-Anne Desgrosseiliers, and I'm originally from Northern Ontario in Canada, and I have a background in social work. I'm a mother of two grown daughters, and I'm a grandmother, Mammy Joe, as they call me, for my two little grandkids, and they're just little sweethearts. So yeah, I retired 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, but then I went back to work part time after being off for 2 years, and so I'm just kind of like living the dream of just contracting work and just living my life and being able to expand and do stuff like this, which is a joy and kind of a passion. I've been reading tarot cards since I'm 16, so over 40 years now, and I enjoyed that as well. And I've been branching out into that a little bit more. Although right now I'm at a little bit of a stalemate with that. So this is exciting to do this today, and hopefully it'll get those juices flowing again. So yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I'm sure that I'll divulge more things as we go along. I have a wonderful husband as well. I should mention him.
Gotta always bring in the husband. Can't forget the husband. Definitely. Oh, awesome. Well, I guess I'll just jump right in. Although I forgot that about the tarot cards because I wanted to link that into dreams a little bit later. So we'll come back to that
Yes.
perhaps. So I guess we'll just kick things off with dreams and
Mhm.
just asking the question, what are dreams to you? Like I know it's a pretty open-ended question, but we ask all of our guests this just because we like to have
Mhm.
different perspectives on what dreams are. And I know you didn't want to have any biased opinions, so I'm not going to say anything about previous guests or anything. I'll just leave the floor to you.
Yeah, I've been thinking on that, since you gave me the broad strokes of what you might ask, and I've been thinking about it and kind of I don't even think I have a clear answer of like what I think they are. I think that there's definitely different categories. And there's for me, the experiences that I've had, the categories fall into, stuff, that I'm just working out from the day, and an interaction or a movie or something I ate, whatever it might be. And so those are very, they have a certain feel to them. And I guess there's a different feeling when I know that it's a visitation dream. It's an entirely it's an entirely different energy in the dream. And then there's also um, what's the name of that type of dreaming where you're able to shape the dream. And
Lucidity or lucid dreaming?
yes, lucid dreaming. So, I've had those experiences as well, and that again is a completely different energy. Um, I also have a really good friend, and it's somebody that you might want to have as a guest in the future. And she does energy work, and she does a lot of it through like dreaming, like in kind of incorporating herself and doing that energy work with you while you're sleeping and while you're dreaming.
Oh, yeah,
And
please send her my way.
yeah, yeah. So I'll talk to her. I'm sure this would be right up her alley. She's fabulous. Yeah. So I'll mention it to her. But yeah, so we've done that as well together and done some work on different aspects of life. But for today, for visitation dreams, that one's no work for me actually. And so that's the easiest one. The other two, that's a little bit more work and yeah. So I think that with the visitation dreams, there's an authenticity to the dream, and it's being your authentic self that I believe allows that passage of energy to come through, and whatever the person or wherever that person is or has become. So that's yeah, thoughts.
Yeah, yeah,
I love
no,
that.
yeah, no. It's you touched on so many different aspects there, which is really great. And I know I said that in general, the topic for today is visitation dreams, but it sounds like you have a lot more experience with other types of dreams as well. So like we can just like let the conversation go wherever it's gonna
Mhm.
go. Visitation dreams was just kind of what attracted me to you because I just happened to be scrolling through Facebook and saw you had posted a memory about a visitation dream that you had had or whatnot. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to her and ask her to come onto the podcast. And so here we are talking about visitation
Mm.
dreams. So I guess to answer the question, what are dreams to you? It sounds like they're actually quite important
Mhm.
because,
Yeah.
you've got processing dreams, which is where you're talking about just things that you've experiencing throughout your day and you're just kind of having that happen throughout the night. But then there's also lucid dreams. And then you also spoke about the energy work that happens within a dream space. So I assume that's kind of like from a healing process, I would assume is what you're talking about with that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I have always been as excited about my dream life as I am about my real life. Yeah, so I've always felt that way, and I find it remarkable, like that, some people don't remember their dreams or they think they don't dream, and that's, I can't explain that, but for me, it's just been incorporated in my life since I was so little, like since I could remember, my first memories or dreams. So,
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of people I know that don't really remember their dreams. And from just my observation, I feel like it's just that disconnect that they have with themselves, or they don't
mhm,
have that remembering of who they are. And that's why they don't dream because, we feel like, well, for me, and we've talked about this in the podcast, is like there's no difference between your waking life and your dreaming life. Like that is still you. There's no separation. So if you're not dreaming, there's just some sort of block, or there's like you're choosing not to. Because I believe we come into this life um, with that choice to forget like who we are. So then we have the human experience to then, overcome all the challenges. So we all have a different journey. And I think that's why possibly people, don't remember their dreams. Maybe they've chosen to, or
mhm,
they're just not ready to, go on that journey yet. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And I like how you say it's when you've been your authentic self is when you're having that visitation dream. It's that connection. And I never thought of it that way, but that's a great way to think of it. That you're opening up to receive what you need to receive.
And I find it interesting that, as a child, it was so accessible. I found it so much more accessible. And then as my life got busier and the noise, started coming into my life and into my head and all of that and into my soul, all of it. Um, it kind of it didn't stop entirely, but it wasn't as frequent. And then now it's coming back, and I think it's because my life is slowing down around, I can choose. I have a lot more choice now, which I'm so, so grateful for. It was worth all the hard work. And then also being so close to my grandchildren, I think that allows me to tap into that authenticity again, and and that innocence, of just playing, doing a lot of playing. And what's interesting too is that, like, I have five siblings, and they're a bit older than me, but we're all really into playing now again. And we have days that we just play games all day together, and we're just trying to get back to the silliness, and not the politics and not all of the stuff that's going on. And we're just trying to say, like, there's not a lot you can control, but this we can. And so I'm finding all of those choices are allowing that real fullness again in my dream life.
Amazing.
That's
Which then
awesome.
ties into, if there's no difference between your waking life and your sleep life, then it makes sense as to why your dream life is so much more rewarding or fulfilling at the moment. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I watched Hamnet last night, and and it was amazing and powerful. But it just, of course, it's the play of Hamlet, and where he says, to sleep, perchance to dream, and the whole meaning behind that, and where it was almost like the fear of dreaming in that context. And when you talked about that early, Biljana, about some people, making that conscious choice and making that decision that they didn't want to even delve into that. That's kind of, what Shakespeare was saying in that quote. Is just, for some people, it's just too scary. And I mean, of course, it's talking about death as well and stuff, and being afraid that, it wouldn't be the end. And I guess for me, like, dream is hope too, right? I think that quote's like kind of, it's beautiful, but it's a little bit hopeless around that. Whereas, like, yeah, I death and dreaming, kind of my thing, both of those things. So a little macabre, but that's okay.
well, no, because death isn't the end, right? So
Well,
it's
that's just it, right? So I think, and maybe, like, there's, like, yeah, there's definitely a link there. I mean, obviously, like I said, I've experienced some pretty, um, like, to me, irrefutable, experiences. And if I could share one with you,
absolutely, that's what we're here for.
um, so when my father passed away, he was quite young when he passed away. Well, he was in his mid 50s, and him and my mom had been renovated. No, him and my mom had moved into a new house, but it was an older home. And my mom had the habit or propensity to remodel things, to change furniture around. She just, like, was, like, constantly doing that. Like, my dad was a miner, and one time he came home from a night shift, and he went to get into bed, and he fell on the floor because she had moved, like, she had changed the whole bedroom around. Like, that was just my mom. And when she wasn't doing that, she was changing entire rooms in her house around and everything. Like, she'd be like, let's knock out a wall here, and this kind of thing. That's the energy she had. So after my father passed away, they used to live close enough where he would be able to come and walk over to, our house, and my oldest daughter, Kimmy, was, about 5 years old at the time, and she would open the door for him on a Saturday morning, and we'd still be in bed. And usually Danielle, or, she was a baby then, she would be in bed with us. And we could just hear my dad downstairs, and he'd start the coffee, and we could smell the coffee, and he'd be chatting away with Kimmy, and Kimmy would be complaining about her little sister, and it was just the whole thing. So anyways, after he passed away, it was probably a couple of months after he passed away. And it's not that I ask people, like I've never been a person to say like, come visit me, come visit me, please, kind of thing. And it just comes out of the blue. So my mom had decided to renovate the house because she just didn't want to sleep in that bedroom where she had slept with my dad. So she was making that into a dining room, and she was doing all kinds of things. And so my father came in my dream, and he showed up the same way he normally would. And when I said earlier, the feeling is different. It's just right away I knew. I was just like, oh, he's here. Like, this is like, he's here. Like, this is great. So super excited. So I run down the stairs and give him a big hug. And and he looked really upset. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? And, but I never asked like any questions about the afterlife or anything. I guess I'm not curious enough. I don't know. Or I just, I just know it's there. So I just take it for granted that that's where he is. So he was just like, yeah, he said like, I don't understand your mom. Like, she's like doing all this work on the house, and, she's on a fixed income, and why is she doing this? And he was, and I said, listen, dad, like she just misses you, and she can't sleep in that room. Like, that's why she's doing it. And then, my dad, my dad was always very hard on himself, like, if he was, judging or anything like that. So then he was like, feeling kind of bad. He's like, oh my gosh, Jo-Anne, I never even thought of that. So I said, why don't we take a walk over and take a look at what they're doing? Because my first husband at the time, JP, was helping work on the house, and so were my brothers. And so we walked over, and we had a great walk, and a great chat, like walking through the neighborhood. And then we got there, and we were looking at everything in the house, and there was gyprock on, like, on certain walls, and then there was certain walls that weren't gyprocked yet. And I remember thinking in my dream, okay, I'm gonna like remember what this looks like, because I haven't been to the house in a week. So there's no way that I could have physically known this. And then I'm gonna wake up, and I'm gonna tell JP what the house looks like, just to confirm that I was actually there. And so I did. I just, after we visited, and he left and gave me a hug, and he just like walked up the street like he normally would. He just walked away, and then I walked home. And then I woke up, and then I talked to JP. I just like shake him, and I'm just like, okay, let me tell you this right now while it's fresh. And I start describing everything in the house and where things are at, and even like, where the toolboxes are, like all these things. And he's just like, how do you know this? And I said, because I was just there. And so anyway, so that was one of the more powerful dreams that I had, where I was able to shape and kind of like pull things out and bring them to my reality as well. So I thought that was super, super awesome.
No, absolutely. And it's, oh man, it's like, so you think you like astro traveled there perhaps? Or like how, like,
Sure.
or is
What do you
it,
think?
I don't know. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it because I'm like, it definitely that he visited you, but then you visited places with him, almost like kind of like,
Yeah.
a little bit of without being Scrooge, but the definitely the idea of uh the story with Scrooge and visiting
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
pasts,
Going to
you know.
different pasts and presents and futures. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there was something very, very magical about it. And it just seemed like everything was possible. Like it didn't even seem, you know, fantastical, or, anything like that. It just seemed absolutely, that's what we should do, and we did it. And
Yeah.
it was just,
Did you
and
feel
it
you
happened.
had some lucidity with that dream as well, or was it just happening?
I had lucidity when I decided when I was in that house and I was just like, if I can remember where everything is, I'll be able to talk to JP about it. And that's when I had like made that choice to do that. Um, and I mean, it wasn't so much proof for myself, but probably it was a little bit because I thought, okay, well, like he'll tell me, if I'm completely, wrong. And, then I could choose to, interpret it another way or whatever, and that's fine too. But no, I was pretty confident and pretty excited to tell him. So I was actually not ever feeling like I was going to be wrong. So yeah. And I had done that like my first dream recollection like that. Um, I'm obsessed with, grandparents because I didn't have any growing up. And so it's like the bond that I have with my grandchildren um, is sacred. It's really special to me. Ooh, it make me cry. Anyway, um, so we had a young man that lived down the street when I was probably 9 or 10 or maybe like 8 years old when this happened. And he was such a nice guy. And his brother was best friends with my brother. My sister had a crush on this guy. And he was just the sweetest guy, like for a teenager, especially. He was just like a sweetheart. And, whenever he would always say hi when he came, like when he walked by our house and stuff. And all those boys had Camaros. That was the cars that they drove. The three boys in that family had Camaros, and Todd had one as well. And I had even given me and a friend a ride in it one time and stuff. And he was just like a really cool guy. And anyways, he ended up getting into a car accident and dying. And so he showed up in my dream, and he said, Jo-Anne, I have somebody who really wants to meet you. Like, I met somebody who really, really wants to meet you. And so I said, oh, okay. Like, I'm like, Todd, like, again, it wasn't weird. Like, I wasn't like, but you're dead. I wasn't questioning. I was just like, okay, yeah, like, absolutely, let's go. And so we walked. I had an aunt and uncle that lived close by, and we walked again over to their place. And my grandfather was sitting in a rocking chair. And then, like, I was able to sit on his knee, and it was really beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, that was the first one that I really, really recall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow, that must have been very uh, special. And like you, I have only been brought up with two grandmas. Now I've only got one. So yeah, like no grandfather, and so it's that missing that father figure, I guess. So yeah, but I haven't had any visitation dreams. So I'm quite interested, like, yeah, about these because people talk about they have their past loved ones come back, and I feel like I connect more with people that I've never met before.
Oh, okay.
So, which is quite interesting. Yeah,
Interesting. And
yeah,
so in what capacity then? Like do you have that same feeling that that you're actually meeting somebody and it's not a dream?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so vivid, and like we are already connected in some way. So whether it's past life or we're soul family, whatever you want to call it. Um, but yeah, there's still that connection. So it's like I don't feel like I'm missing out because you know everything's connected anyway. So we're all one big family
Mhm.
anyway. But I suppose like blood family. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite interesting to hear your experiences. Do you ever have any visitation dreams of like just other people, other beings, or anything like that?
Hmm. I mean, I had a dream recently that was very Like I was terrified when I woke up. And I really do like, I do think it was a warning dream. And I do believe that the two people that were in the dream exist. And, I hope I hope they never show up in my house again like they did in the dream. So
Yeah.
so I am like being very cautious around certain things, and that dream very much shook me. Like it shook me. And that doesn't happen often. I don't have a lot of nightmares. But when I do, I really pay attention to them. And these two people um, were definitely people who exist. And hmm, yeah, I've been it's affected me all week, this dream. So
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think that those sorts of dreams come through to make us like it's you got to remember this. Like it's I wouldn't say a warning, but I think when something's a bit more dramatic, we pay attention a lot more, we focus a lot more. So possibly that's the reason why. If it was a bit more like nice and happy, maybe you wouldn't pay attention as much. So, your higher self is like, oh, I want you to pay attention to this, You could be someone, helpful.
right, yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll
Have you
see.
tried to pull the cards with this dream?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I've kind of like I went to Italy last year, and I brought the cards with me because I thought like, oh yes, this great Roma energy, right? And I'll get, even more energy in these cards. And while I was there, I read them a lot, and I did cards for a bunch of people that I just met at the villa that we were staying at. And then I got home and I did a lot over the summer. Like I just like yeah, I was really active. And then I've just taken a pause. And so like I said, like they're right there beside me. And so I'm like, I'm gonna bring them along today just to have them around and stuff. So, it might be something that I do. I mean, I don't even have you done that? Have you pulled cards like on your dreams? I've never done that.
I've never pulled cards on my dreams, but I've pulled cards for other things. And you know the cards that I use. I mean, I know that you were
Right.
teaching me some of the tarot, but
Mhm.
I ended up to just drift more to my soul lesson cards, and then just other intuitive tools. So like pendulums and things like
Sure.
that is kind of where I gravitate towards. But I thought it would be, since you have 40 years experience in pulling tarot cards, I just thought it would be an interesting topic to talk about and
Yeah.
incorporate into the dream space. And I mean, you did mention earlier about your friend who does energy work through the dream space. So, you know, like tarot cards, pendulums, all of these things, they're just tools for the same thing, which is connecting with your higher self and your intuition. So, um, and really, one of the things that has come up in our podcast about dreams in general, and I think Biljana, you also just mentioned it, like your higher self giving you like a warning or telling you to pay attention. Dreams are really your heart speaking to you, is kind of how we like to phrase it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's definitely something that I'm going to explore. I think that's really interesting. And like you said, like these tools that we have and speak to us, definitely are things that, it's every time I pull away from it, I get pulled back because I just I am just always amazed by the stuff that comes out, and it's always very reaffirming. And I'm like, how many years of this do I need to reaffirm? 40 years, like get the lesson, but
Well, you pulled cards for me, right? I mean, how much
yes,
of that has come through true?
I know, so funny, so funny.
Pretty much
Yeah.
all of it, I think,
Yeah,
in some form or another.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like that, Biljana, that you work with? Like, do you have any medium that you enjoy?
Um, I used to use cards a lot, and then I got to a point where I felt like when I was asking a question, it was something I already knew. So I felt like my intuition was like spot on already. So like, well, I don't need those. And I suppose I was going through a stage where I'm like, I don't want to rely on anything. I want to use it as a tool. So if something else
Oh,
comes up in my life, then I'll use that. So at the moment, I don't really um just me really connecting with myself. I use my dogs a little bit to gauge
okay.
where I'm at and kind of the how things are. They're a good indication. So yeah, and just using nature, like looking around, and that's kind of my indicator of where things are at.
Well, it's funny that you say that about nature because I've been able to over the last month do a lot of it just happened that a girlfriend came from out of province and I took her to a place where we were doing the hot cold therapy, with the saunas and the cold plunges. And then I went on a day retreat where I did it even with some meditation and some yoga and then the hot and cold plunging and it was just like a beautiful day. And then I'll be doing it for a third time this weekend. And I feel that I think that's part of it too. That's really been opening things up, and expanding, um, my dreams, my, just my day to day, like you say, going with my intuition and really trusting intuition. And maybe that's why I've put my cards aside for a while too. And maybe I shouldn't have guilt around that and just like give myself permission, right, to do that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. Well, because I had like heaps of decks, and I just one day I'm like, I gave them all away to my friend, and I haven't looked back. But it's funny because I was working at a festival, all women's festival, and I come across a medium, and she gifted me a deck of cards. I don't know if you can
Ah,
see them.
okay. They're kind of
Um,
coming in.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
these
okay.
mediumship cards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, you
can't
disappeared.
see them.
You're
Yeah,
very
mediumship
magical.
cards.
You're phasing in and out, Biljana.
Yeah. So they're both, yeah, heartfelt messages from spirit. And as you were talking about, you've got people visiting you. I was sitting there and thinking, well, I don't really have anyone that's passed away that I know, but can I communicate with people I don't know using those because that's where I have more experiences with. So if I do have that sort of visitation, possibly I could use them for that. And yeah, so you've given me food for thought.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
my friend, my childhood friend, we were friends since we were like 4 years old. And the the ladies I went to Italy with last year, we've all been friends for over 50 years. And one of our girlfriends in that group passed away. And so she comes in my dreams, but she just like hangs out. Like we don't even talk much or anything, but it'll be like a dream. And then I'll just be like, oh, hey, like she's like working in a store I walk into, and I'm like, what you doing? Like it's just so funny. But I know, I know when I see her that she's dead. Like, and we both know it. And it's just so funny. She just like randomly appears and yeah, she's not done yet. Like she's just not done yet. And she's just kind of testing out things and trying out different things. And, sometimes she'll just be like in a lawn chair at the beach that I'm at or something. And I'm just like, oh, hi. So it's really nice. I just enjoy, but she wants to be left alone. She's there to, like she shows herself to me, but it's not, we're not going to hang out, that's not the situation, and
Mm.
that's okay.
What do you think of the idea about different timelines?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's anything's possible because there's just so much that we don't know even about our own brains, right? And the brain functions and all that kind of stuff. And, scientists like to say that we only utilize a percentage, but like maybe we are using it all and we're not even aware of it. And, so yeah, so I mean, it's a powerful thing for sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
believe in timelines, and I believe
You?
that sometimes when I'm dreaming, I'm actually dreaming of myself, but in a different timeline and a different reality. And so
Okay.
when you were talking about your friend who just seems to be in random places, I wonder if you're just not visiting her in other timelines.
Maybe. Yeah, because she's there. Like she's just existing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, yeah, and maybe that's that's exactly what's going on because yeah, she's just existing. Like I said, it's not like deep or anything like that when we see each other, it's just like, oh hey, like how's it going? And
Yeah.
sometimes we just give each other a wave or a smile and it's all good.
And when I
Yeah.
asked earlier, oh, sorry, Biljana, if you wanted to speak, my brain just has
No,
so
no, no.
much that I want
No,
to
it's all
talk
good.
about with this stuff. When I mentioned earlier and asked if you had astral traveled to the house that you had visited with your dad in that particular dream. So I'm tying this all back to this friend as well that keeps popping up in timelines and whatnot. Um, because I definitely have had experiences where I'm in a different timeline or whatnot. Like the example I can give is that I had visited my grandparents' house and I went into their porch and there was an iron that was just sitting on in the porch and I like pick up the iron, I'm like looking at it and it's like a foreign language written on it, like I didn't recognize the symbols that was on the
Okay.
iron. And then my grandparents came inside, and I was like excited to see them initially, but they were as if they were like 30 or 40 years old. Like they were an age that I had never experienced in this lifetime,
Right.
them in that way. Like I've seen pictures of them looking like that, but I've never
Right.
actually experienced it. And they couldn't see me. So I was like in their porch and they were coming in
Um,
and they couldn't see me. So like there was no interaction at all. So I definitely felt that I was visiting that particular reality for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, so that's just what I'm kind of thinking about when you're talking about your experiences and relating it to my own and kind of what I feel is truth for me anyway.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like like a little different in that, like you said, like it's almost like you were teleported there, right?
Yeah.
And you're in that timeline, like you say, mine, they're pretty much always like in the present, like wherever I'm going, it's like in the present. So it's, you know, I don't know. I don't think I've ever gone, I can't recall ever experiencing that, what you're describing. But yeah, yeah.
But then conversely to and so this is another example of timeline, but then you talk about the present. Well, I have like an actual real example of that happened. I think it was just yesterday. So I had like went back to sleep in the morning, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock or something. And I was supposed to be getting up to have a phone call with a friend. And so in my dream, I'm waiting for the time to pass by for to have that phone call. I'm changing Lila on the changing table.
Yes.
And so like all of that is happening in the dream. And then it's like 8 o'clock in my dream, which funny enough, I got up a little bit around 8 o'clock. I actually woke up from the dream. So, and then Tim comes storming in the door and he had basically come home from work. He goes to work early in the morning, but he had come home from work. He was having, just some difficulties at work or whatever, and decided he was just taking a sick day. He just wanted to come home or whatever. And then a friend of ours, who's a pretty close friend, spends a lot of time here, but doesn't live here. But in this dream, he was like our roommate, and he was coming upstairs, and he's like, "Oh, is Tim home today?" And I was like, "Well, he's supposed to be at work, but he just came in the door." And then I just woke up. So, but it was like very much very similar to my current
Oh,
reality, but just like, a little bit parallel, I guess. And in the dream, I was waiting to talk to this friend
Right,
as
right.
well. So, and what was interesting is that day when Tim came home, so this is like actual reality. That day when Tim came home, he was telling me about a whole bunch of troubles that he had at work. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Because in my dream, you would actually come home because you were, upset about the things that were going on. And he's like, well, I definitely thought about that, but I didn't. And so I'm like, well, I had dreamt in a different reality. You did come home.
Yeah, so
yeah,
you did do it, but it was just not
This
on this
timeline.
plane
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, well, I've definitely had those, like what you're describing, because I've done like, where I've done like housework, in my dreams. And then I wake up and I'm so discouraged because it's like, oh, now I have to do it in real life. Like I've already done it. Like, I've already done that. Why am I having to do this again? So I definitely have had those dreams. Or when I was in school, doing my social work program, I would dream of like studying, like, and I'd study in my dreams. And then, but like that was good because that actually worked. Like I found that I had more retention that way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting concept to like study while you're sleeping. It gives so and it's
Very
interesting
Virgo.
because this is a little bit of statistics, but they and little academic coming out here, but they say that for people who spend all nighters studying and whatnot, it's actually really really bad, and that for every hour less that you get under 7 hours, it's actually the equivalent of a letter grade. So for people
Right.
who have all nighters and whatnot, they're actually really doing a detriment to their grade. And so it's better to get a better night's sleep because then you will dream. Because if you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're not going to be dreaming. And then if you're dreaming, you're processing and potentially studying in your dream.
Right.
So,
I used to, my trick was when I had to like study for something and it was a big exam, I used to study, and if we were doing a group study or whatever, and I'd say like, okay, like we're going to do it, for 3, 4 hours hard. And then I'd say, and then we're going to go out dancing. And we used to go out dancing. And it was like, it was the best way for me to retain things. It was amazing, actually. So
because you were
yeah.
pairing like a
It's
positive, fun experience with the
yeah, and
not
just
so
like a
fun experience of studying.
and like cerebral and then completely physical, right? And just like letting everything absorb almost, and then going to sleep and sleeping so hard, and then waking up and just, it was, and so people who, you know, did come with me, they'd always do really well, and they'd be like, that's like, wow, like that's quite the method.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had that like quite often. Is you listen to something. That's why I don't listen to a lot of podcasts or videos or read a lot of books because you need to like hear something and let it absorb it and then experience it in your life and play it out. For then you can then retain it. So, you've taken in the information, you're like, all right, now let's go have some fun and let it like
Mhm.
you just absorb it into your being and then it becomes a knowing. But if you just like read, it's just facts, you can't connect to it. Like you
Mhm.
gotta that's how you can understand something is you gotta connect with it. So even if it's just information studying. Um a friend of mine, he would I think he was an engineer, yeah, and he had problems that he had to solve. He would use his dreams as a way to kind of figure out a solution. So he before he go to bed, he'd ask that like, you know, I need to work out how to solve this, and basically that his dream he wouldn't remember it, but then he'd wake up. and he had the solution. So kind of like what you're saying is you're studying in your dream.
Yeah, my
So,
husband actually
it's
does that.
yeah,
My husband, because he's always tinkering and fixing something and building something, and that's just him. And he'll tell me that often. He'll be like, "I figured it out last night. I figured it all out," and I'm like, "Oh, that's good. That's awesome." And he's not like a big dreamer as such, but he does do that. So it's funny that you mentioned that
yeah.
because yeah, he does the same thing, and he's so happy.
Does he understand? Does he understand what's happening, or is he just
I
thinks
don't
it's kind of just come to him eventually?
Yeah, I mean, he knows it's happening like in his dream. Like he definitely gets
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. And
And I
so,
wonder if,
yes,
like, yeah, setting that intention before going to sleep. I wonder if he's aware of that too.
I'll have to talk to him about that. Yeah, he's not, I mean,
Yeah,
he's a factual kind of guy. But, definitely
yeah.
supports my beliefs and, it's a little weird, a little weary or like a little scared of me sometimes.
You're a little too woo woo for him.
Well, and
Oh, yeah,
too accurate, right? So those like
yeah,
so it's a little bit of both where it's like, okay, I
yeah.
don't know what that is, but I'm not gonna push it.
But yeah, I always use like famous scientist quotes to help back up what I'm saying. Like Einstein would say, everything is energy.
Mhm,
Um, and I don't know who said this, like your thoughts create your reality.
mhm,
So, and if everything is energy, your thoughts are energy.
mhm.
So
Well,
those two quotes there.
action reaction, right? In physics, right? It's the whole concept of physics that like
Yeah,
action reaction, like
yeah,
it's the base level of it kind of thing. But
And like
yeah,
attracts like kind of thing. So
sure,
if you're
yeah.
carrying
yeah.
negative energy around, then you're just going to attract more of that negative energy. And if you're more positive, then you're going to have more positive things come to you. So,
But when I talked about earlier, like when I mentioned about my interests in dreams and death, and how the two are linked. What I've found in life is, through my experiences, is that no matter who a person is or what their belief system is, there's always two things that they'll talk about, and one of them is dreams, and the other are, even if they don't dream a lot, they'll still have some memorable dreams, and then almost everybody has a ghost story, and
Yeah.
you could have like the person who's the most logical person or whatever. If you start talking and you get into it, and there's a trust that builds, like the ghost story will come out. So I do think that these two things like are linked somehow. I really do think that the energy, the person's energy can come back through that space where we're at our most vulnerable and probably most powerful is like in the dream state.
I love that we're the most powerful in our dream state. Well, I mean, definitely. Well, I believe that we're multidimensional beings. Like we can be in many places at once. We can traverse timelines and dimensions, and one of the places to do that is through the dream space. And you've already mentioned about, again, your friend who does energy work through the dream space. So, if you can visit timelines and dimensions through dreams, and then you can do energy work and healing work, then you can literally heal timelines and, you know, do really cool things, powerful things, as you said.
Yeah, I know it kind of like once we get into those realms, it's exciting, but it also makes my brain hurt a little
Oh,
bit.
trust me. Go back and listen to what was it? I don't know. Our very beginning episodes with Biljana and I, and we were talking about timelines and dimensions, and it was like honestly, it was the first time I really started to explore that was through conversations with Biljana. And now I'm like okay with it, but in the beginning
Right.
I had your reaction like my brain just hurts. Like how do you and then when you throw in that time doesn't exist and that everything is now, so past, present, and future all exist now simultaneously, it totally blows your mind.
Well, and that's just it, right? When you take a look at, the constructs that, we're creating as humans, and, for whatever reason, like I still don't understand it. And um yeah, I just think it must have been the most fearful person who started the whole thing, the whole monetary and drawing maps and all of it. It must have been such a scared person who started all of that, because, there's the constructs are just, they're just make believe, all of it, right? So like
Yeah.
You
that's
dive a
the
little deeper. I'm not sure I'm fully following when you're talking about drawing
I'm
maps
just
and
I'm
monetary.
just like I'm just talking about, like when you're talking about, time and, the present and future and past are all ones, but everything that we've created as a species is counterintuitive to that. So
Yeah.
clocks and maps and, money and, borders,
Yeah.
like
They're
drawing
control
lines.
mechanisms, really, though,
It's
right?
it's they're what?
Yeah.
Control mechanisms.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what I'm saying. And so control comes from fear. And so I just think
Yeah.
that the people who started that, the first humans who started, you know, convincing everybody that it was necessary, must have been the scaredest people ever. Like they must have been
Were they
terrified.
scared or were they trying to keep the population in fear base to do so? I don't know. I'm just,
Well, I mean, I think that's where it comes from, right? If you the control is fear, like it's all comes from that.
hmm,
That's what you
afraid of
do when
us
you're.
and what we're capable of.
Yeah, like, when you're afraid, like that's what you try and do, right? You try and, like, I mean, I do, I feel like if I can control the situation, like during the flood a couple of years ago, like that was terrifying because, I can't control it, right? It's water. It's gonna do what it wants, It's so powerful. And it just, made me again, kind of laugh at, this everything that we've created. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really not the thing that you're going to think about on your deathbed. That's for sure.
Hmm. But
No, of
relating
course not.
dreams to death in a way, one way that we've sort of have bridged that gap is the near death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know where I want to go with that, but just that,
I think we're going to need a whole other show.
yeah, maybe. Hey, we willing to have you back, no problem at all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like near death is definitely that bridge. I've done a lot of palliative care. I've been with a lot of people who've passed away, and it's quite powerful. Even even the most, uneventful death is still powerful. It's the energy shift, all of it. It's a trip, it's to be in the room and to really feel that. So I've been fortunate enough to do that on a number of occasions. And yeah.
Did you have
Yeah.
questions for
Cool.
us? You came in saying you had questions for us.
Well, I think that we've been doing it like back and forth, which is great. Like I'm, thank you very much for having me. And this has been like fabulous. I can't believe the time has gone by so quickly.
Yeah.
And it's, been lovely. But I think that, the discourse, like, just back and forth, has been really very seamless and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, it's just a
Yeah.
conversation, just we hit record.
Mhm.
Let's
No,
feel
it's
it.
been great.
Yeah.
I guess so. What, just out of curiosity, so is there like, you know, talking about, constructs and trying to control things, but um, is there like what is your goal with this? Like, what it's just to open up people's minds around dreaming or just sharing? So what's your mission statement?
Who's gonna go first?
I'll say mine, and then probably you can add to it.
Sounds good.
Because we might have something different, because obviously you started the podcast, and but yeah, it's just bring awareness, and like you said, that this conversation that seemed seamless, like having just these sorts of conversations to make it normal, and to not to make people feel comfortable to talk about these things. You're not weird, you're not crazy, like I think we've lost that, just having conversations about real things in our own lives rather than focusing on everything outside ourselves. It's good to be aware, but if that focus is on the wars and politics and all the money stuff, like it takes away from knowing who you are, and then to be able to shine bright for yourself and for others. So I feel that's kind of like bringing awareness to dreams, and I have a lot of like really good dreams, like as in good and bad, but like good in a sense that it's enlightening and empowering to know that it's coming to me for a reason. Um, and also just give people practices that they can use for themselves. We talk about it, but then, having solutions for people, like, doing dream journaling, using your intention and that sort of thing. So that's where I feel like we're going with it. And I've got projects coming. So yeah. You got anything to add, Sarah?
Yeah, mine's gonna be long-winded as always, but
That's
just
okay.
to preface that, I will start by saying I've always been interested in dreams, but what really kicked things off about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, was actually a visitation dream. And it was a visitation dream from my grandfather. And I don't need to go into all the details. I can do that offline sometime because I think I've talked about it on the podcast before and it'll be too long of an explanation. It's not the point. The point is that it's what piqued my interest in dreams. And it also kind of opened me up spiritually as well. So it took off a band-aid that was there, and then I started to explore whatever the universe is and everything that's connected to it. And through that, I started to pay more attention to my dreams. And I would have dreams that I'd be like, oh, there's a lesson in that. Like, there's something that I need to heal within myself, or maybe I'm holding on to some grief, or I'm got a grudge that I've held against somebody that I need to let go of. There's just something that I need to work on within myself. And I noticed that my dreams were becoming a tool to be able to work through that. Mm-hmm. And by using my dreams as a tool to work on myself, it has put me in a really positive, good place. So the podcast, when I realized that I was getting messages or getting lessons come through my dreams, I was like, the world needs to know about this. Other people need to recognize, or as Biljana put it, they need to have an awareness about their dreams. And, you mentioned earlier that some people don't dream or they don't remember their dreams. I believe everybody does dream, and everybody is capable of remembering their dreams. It all comes down to where you put your focus and intention to. And just simply going to bed at night and saying, I will remember my dreams when I wake up, is enough to kind of kickstart that process. And Biljana and I, we had just launched a course in the fall. We had our first run through of a dream interpretation course. And through that, we teach different ways, and we have different conversations around how to remember your dreams, tools to help you process your dreams, interpret them, and all of that. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I feel like
you are. No,
yeah.
absolutely. No, absolutely. That's what I was wondering, if it's just like an interest thing, or if there's like, kind of like a goal. And yeah, you've both expressed it in a great way. Yeah, no, I get it.
And
I get
and
it.
definitely there's a level of interest as
Oh, for
well.
sure.
And
Yes.
I would say with season 2, so last year with all the various guests that we had on the show, it was definitely topics that Biljana and I hadn't really explored dream-wise yet. And so we would have a guest that would come on to talk more about that. And then we were, or at least I was, I think Biljana was too, um, extending having those experiences throughout our dream space. So the one that comes to mind vividly for me, vividly, is lucid dreaming. So we had well, we did 2 main episodes, I would say, about lucid dreams. We had actually a dream therapist on
Mm,
our podcast last year. I think it's episode 20.
yeah.
Eventually, I'm going to forget the numbers, but
Mm,
so episode 20 with Melissa Johnson was all about lucid dreaming and lucid living. And that was I mean, all of our episodes have been very impactful, but that one in particular really opened up the experience for me for lucid dreaming because I got to like actually experience and practice it a lot more
mm,
after we had that episode. And I really found that all of our episodes last year after the conversation, whatever the topic was, those experiences started to actually come into my dream space. And so if I'm having those experiences just by having that conversation, then I feel that our podcast is really putting out a nice platform for people who are listening to it to then have those
mm.
experiences as well.
Yeah, it's very empowering. It's very empowering for sure. And I mean, you've had all of these episodes and had all of these people, and you're just probably scratching the surface. Like you're just starting. So that's really exciting. And I do appreciate you including me. I really do. It's um, just one more thing. When you talked earlier, Biljana, about trying to create a space, and you both are creating that space right now, the safe space for people to talk and to normalize. I do think that's super important. And I'm part of something called like the Death Cafe, and it's just where we get together, and it's a movement now. It's an actual, you know, bona fide thing that people are doing all over the world. And I'm lucky enough to live in a community where I can go to 4 different little places, little villages, and they all have a death cafe, including right up at my little little hall up the road. And I think it's amazing. And the people that I meet there are from all different walks of life. They're all different ages, and just they're just wanting to have these conversations, to take fear and put it someplace else, around these subjects and the taboo around the subjects. And like you said, like the woo woo, that whole concept, because um, you know you're science based, Sarah. Like, I know that that's your background, right? And Billiana was saying it earlier as well. She likes to refute things by using science and using quotes of scientists and stuff. And I would say that I'm a pretty rational person as well, so it's all good.
Well, the thing is
Yeah.
that we've been taught that things are woo woo and, are not really part of our reality, but it's so far from the truth that they're very oh my goodness, can't say that word. They're very much interconnected. The
Right.
physical and the metaphysical are
Yeah.
what part of the same universe. So
Yeah. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, I mean, and how we talked about something, and it just like it struck a chord in me, because I thought, yeah, and that's why now we're starting to explore, molecular and cellular memory, right, from generation to generation, and molecular trauma and all of those things, and how they exist, because it's so much bigger, and the it's happened since the dawn of time where this kind of stuff has, tried to push it down, try to like devalue it. And, but I think that, podcasts like this are really important, to allow people to place value, on these amazing, fun, wonderful things that we can do. So yeah.
No, absolutely.
Exactly. Love it. Well, we always ask I guess at the end, is there any message or last statement you would like to leave our listeners with? Just anything that's on your heart at the moment that you'd like to share.
Well, I'd like to again express my gratitude, for having me, join you today. It's been absolutely lovely, and I went through all the emotions, so that was not surprising for people who know me. But it's nice to be able to feel safe enough to do that, and I don't know. I guess music is such a big force in my life. And when I was thinking about all of this today and kind of trying to figure out what I was going to say, I just was thinking about Pink Floyd and the song Comfortably Numb. And, when the lyric, when I was a child, I got a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. And then, it goes on. And then at the end, it says, the child is grown, the dream is gone. And I'm just happy that, you know, we've we've grown, but the dream isn't gone, I guess. And that's what I like to say.
Love that.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's so good.
absolutely. Did you have, I know that you said that you've kind of put tarot aside a little bit, but, um, you have a lot of experience with it, and, it seemed like you were doing it for strangers in a different country and whatnot. Do you have anything, do you want us to share any of your contact information or whatever, if anybody's interested in that sort of thing, to reach out to you, or any other modalities that you're interested in? If you wanted somebody to reach out to you, we could include it in our show notes, so just let
Sure.
us know.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that would be great. I haven't, I, I tried it a couple of years ago. It was like part of my, like, okay, this year I'm going to like promote myself and try and do this. And, it's just, I don't know. It's something I'm still not struggling with, but, you know, I, I have one deck. It's the deck I love. It's the deck that speaks
It's
to
the
me.
original.
It's the OG. And yeah, I would love to start it again. And so, if this is a launch for that, absolutely, I'd be interested in anybody who's interested in having a reading. And yeah, I think that the opportunity to do that with strangers in Italy was really, it was it was very encouraging, that it's not just because I know people and that kind of thing, right? That I'm using my bias, right? It was nice to do it in an unbiased way, and I'd like to have that opportunity. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Sweet.
Mhm.
So I'll share your email address. Is that
Sure.
okay? Or what? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jo-Anne, for agreeing to come on and sharing all your dream experiences. And I feel this is not the last time we will have you on the show, because you have a lot of experiences to talk about, but also I feel you have a lot more to come as well. So we'll have to we'll have to touch base with how your dream space is evolving later on.
I will definitely keep you posted and let you know of any interesting dreams or occurrences that happen for sure.
Yeah.
And it was like really lovely meeting you, Biljana.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Awesome.
too. Thank you. Thanks for coming
Thank you.
on.
Awesome.
Yeah, take care.
And thank you, Biljana, to being my wonderful co-host and hosting this wonderful podcast with me. It's always a lot of fun. And as always, thank you to our wonderful listeners. This podcast does not happen without you. We greatly appreciate all of the support. And I mean, I know it's not the end all be all, but to see the number of subscribers going up on this channel is definitely very heartwarming. And so I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for liking what we have to share and talk about. And if you enjoy this episode, please give it a like and a share and tell everybody about the podcast. If you'd like to talk about your dreams, we have a website, we have an email address. All the information is in the show notes. Please check us out. Stay tuned for lots of great things from Dream Oracle for you, including the launch of our next iteration of the course, which will be coming up sometime this year. So keep your ears tuned. And with that, everyone, please just keep on dreaming.
Thanks, Sarah.